Bye. I haven't started yet. So as soon as I start, if you look to where you see my picture, you'll be able to click on it. And then when you click on it, then you'll be able to log on.
Okay, see your picture. Okay.
Perfect. So I'm going to do it. I'm going to start now, and then you'll be able to see it live, and you'll be able to do it.
Okay.
All righty. Bye.
Okay.
Hi, everyone. Hello. It's Dr. Hawkins here with Dr. Hawkins Wednesday Lunchtime Talk. I'm back. I missed you guys last week. Last week, I had a couple of meetings going on at this time, and I also had a live on Thursday that I didn't want to kind of overpower. So I stuck with that one for the week, but I'm back, and I'm so excited about my guest today, y'all. Super excited. I have a naturopathic doctor. I have someone that is just a gem and very just, to me, kind of the epitome of a mixture of both worlds in medicine, that can come to you from a medical perspective, still write prescriptions, knows all the background, and has the same type of teaching that OBGYNs receive, but she stepped it up a level, y'all. She did a fellowship. She went back to school and learned all about naturopathic medicine. And so I'm super excited to have her with me today. She'll be joining us in a minute. Well, thank you, Boo. Tried something different with the hair. Kind of pulled it back so y'all can see my face. My beautician says sometimes you got to pull it back so you can see the cheeks. So I'm going to give people a few more minutes to come on. And then when my guest logs in, I will have her join me, Dr. Limo, and I'll have her tell us a little bit about herself and then tell us more about naturopathic medicine. Hey, Sheila. What's up, Dr. Jones? I'm so happy y'all are joining me. I'm super excited about today's guest. What do you think about the MPH MD joint program? So I didn't do a joint program. I did an MD, and then I went back to school and did my MPH. This is a good question for me to ask while we wait to get people in, right? I actually think it's a good program to do. One of my best friends did it that way. She was able to do her MD MPH in, I think it still took 5 years. She may have done it in 4, actually. So check out what the program options are. And from there, you'll be able to see if you can kind of join those programs together and get it all done at once. And with the MPH, you have a couple of different tracks. So you can do epidemiology. I did healthcare administration because I wanted to learn about the business of medicine. I wanted to be a good doctor, but also be able to run my own practice, which you don't need that to run your practice, obviously. But I also wanted to be able to maybe do administrative type things in the future. You know, it really opens up the door. Hey, Stacy, my line sister supporting me, y'all. I love it. So to answer your question, I think it's great to do a joint program, especially if it's going to cut off some time. Honey, if it's going to cut off some money off of that tuition, do it all at once if that's what your heart desires. All right. So Dr. Lima, I'm going to tell you guys a little bit about her while she comes on the line. I may have missed her. Is she already with us? While she comes on the line. And then we'll have her, like I said, introduce herself. So she is a physician in Texas. You guys know I'm in Georgia, so I know we're kind of crossing the borders here a little bit, but this is going out everywhere. So that's why I want to kind of stretch myself and get to community doctors that are in states other than Georgia to really, you know, see how they practice in other places, right? So she's in Texas, and she does integrative medicine. So she is an OBGYN. She went through residency, did all her training, and like I said, went back to school and did a fellowship in integrative medicine. So that's naturopathic medicine. Some of you guys consider that holistic medicine. And so she has this subspecialty in the way that she cares for her patients. She tries to not just be able to offer them medications. As a matter of fact, she doesn't always offer medication. Sometimes she gets more to the healing from the inside out. What can we do with your diet? What can we do about your environmental factors? How can we actually integrate this into your health? I see her, y'all. Yay! Okay, so I'm going to invite her to join, and then we will go from there. Yay! So she's coming on, right? And like I said, this is Dr. Odette Limo. Yay! It worked!
Sorry, I'm a little slow at this stuff. So.
No, this is perfect. I'm so excited. I'm trying to contain my excitement about this. Super excited. Aww. And I have you on Instagram where we can see each other, but I also have Facebook followers that are listening in. So to them, it sounds like a recording and they can see me. So I'll be asking questions that we'll see on the screen, but also questions that are coming from Facebook because I know they're going to come. Because people ask me questions and I'm like, ooh, I wish I knew the answer to that.
I'll try my best.
I love your earrings. They're gorgeous. They are gorgeous. So I wanted to start off. I was just telling everyone who you are and kind of a little bit about naturopathic medicine, but I want you to give us a little bit more detail than I think I can provide about, kind of where your passion lies in all of this.
Yeah, sure. So I wouldn't consider myself a naturopathic physician. So I would say before I did my integrative fellowship, I didn't really know the difference between what an integrative physician was and all that kind of stuff. But
that's why I need to know.
So I would consider myself an integrative physician. So I actually, like you, went through medical school for 4 years, and then I did my residency training in OBGYN, like you did, and then I did a 2-year fellowship in something called Integrative Medicine through the University of Arizona, Dr. Weil's program out there. So in Integrative Medicine, we, I think, kind of combine the best of both worlds. So we still honor Western medicine, utilize it when we need to, but also integrate other modalities. So we focus a lot on nutrition, lifestyle, diet, supplements. I learned a lot more about supplements and herbal medicine that I felt like was really needed to do what I wanted to do for my patients well, because I felt like, gosh, a lot of times just giving prescriptions to people wasn't fixing what was actually going on. And by addressing a lot of the other things, a lot of the lifestyle issues that were going on, and a lot of times a lot of emotional things that were going on, which was significantly affecting their health, which I feel like was a big part that was kind of missing in the 15, 30-minute visits that I would usually be doing in my previous 10 years of kind of group OBGYN training.
Yeah. So that's amazing, because sometimes I think as physicians, we hear so much about just kind of how to be efficient, how to be quick, how to get what we need out of the patient in like 15 minutes and then give them what they need and get them out the door. But now in private practice, I have found that I get a lot more satisfaction, and I think the patients do as well, when we take our time. Yes. We take our time with the patient, and we can just not just talk about one issue. Sometimes we have our limitations still, but like you said, how is this affecting them emotionally, mentally, physically? Because they come to us for the physical, but I love that integrative medicine is pulling all of the whole patient in. So yes. I'm sure that's very fulfilling for you.
It is. It is. It was a dream of mine to be able to practice this way, and I've been able to make it work. So it's exciting. Yeah.
When I spoke with Dr. Limo over the weekend, y'all, I told her she is like my hero. She's my dream come true when it comes to a physician. She's a physician I wish I could be for my patients, because we have these conversations. So like you guys know, I see a lot of patients with endometriosis. I see a lot of patients with fibroids. And I was telling Dr. Limo, I even see a lot of patients with PCOS, even though I don't necessarily surgically manage those patients. Those patients come as a subset of having other issues going on. Usually it's not just one. It's PCOS and endo, or PCOS and fibroids, or PCOS and, something going with their tubes, or something that's concerned about fertility. So to be able to talk to them about what happens beyond the OR, or what happens beyond the medicine, is like a dream of mine. I do it kind of superficially. Dr. does it like officially, y'all. So all right, well, let's do this. Let's get into some questions if you don't mind.
Sure.
And I am happy to answer any questions that you might have. And certainly people that are viewing us, as you guys come up with questions, just let us know and we'll make sure that we can get to them if possible, right? So one thing that I know I get asked a lot about is kind of life beyond endo. And I like putting it that way because I don't like for patients to put themselves in a box where endo is their entire world if they're endometriosis patients. So what should life look like beyond endo to keep these patients, knowing that they have that disease process, their best healthy cells? What's your opinion about that?
Well, I think that a lot of times for patients with endometriosis, or the ones that actually come to us with that are symptomatic, because so many patients with endometriosis don't have symptoms, right? Mm-hmm. Sometimes even for laparoscopy, and I think it said something like 50% of patients with endo don't have any symptoms. Yep. And sometimes what you see doesn't always correlate with the degree of how symptomatic they are too, right? Mm-hmm. So it's like, okay, well, what causes one patient to have such severe symptoms and another patient not to have many symptoms at all? And I think a lot of that comes from just addressing inflammation. And so we talked about this the other day. Diet has a huge component of addressing inflammation inside of the body. Mm-hmm. So if we can use foods to help dial down inflammation, those are going to be a lot of the vegetables, and especially the cruciferous vegetables, not just inflammation-wise, but they also help to drive down estrogen excretion, or actually help to drive down estrogens to a lower potent estrogen. So so kind of helps with that estrogen progesterone balance, just with that. But also all of those different colors of the rainbow have different ways of modulating inflammation inside of our body. And that can help to dial down inflammation. And then the other part of it is, okay, you put in things that are going to help with inflammation, but then we need to take out the things that are causing the inflammation in the first place. Yes. So we want to get rid of, for a lot of people, sometimes doing a modified elimination diet, the three most potent or most common food groups that cause inflammation are going to be gluten, dairy, and soy. So sometimes just taking those out can make a big difference in their inflammation, especially if they're having any gut issues, which a lot of times these patients are. When you kind of go into their history, sometimes they're having some IBS symptoms, chronic constipation, bloating after they eat, or pain in their belly after they eat certain things. So sometimes finding, okay, what are those things that we're eating that we can take out of the diet? And then the other thing is environmental factors that are causing inflammation as well. So you might be familiar with the EWG, or Environmental Working Group. .org site. So that's a wonderful resource for all sorts of, pesticides in foods, sunscreens. How do we decrease the amount of chemicals in our sunscreens, and water filters? There's so many different things that go into our environmental exposure. And I was able to find it also on there. If you just Google EWG and then hormone disruptors, that's a really good, they have it's kind of like a 12-page booklet that you can print out, and it goes through various different chemicals in the environment that can affect the way our hormone receptors respond.
Wow.
And so that's another really good resource for your patients in particular.
That's super helpful, because I get that question a lot of just, can you give me a resource that I can use, or can you give me some website to go to? So, good. I didn't know that. That's actually really, really good. because I think my go-to is always somewhat specific for my endometriosis patients as well as my fibroid patients, because we're dealing with estrogen sensitive or hormone sensitive disorders. I tell them, cut out the red meats, cut out the beef, the pork, cut out processed foods, cut out a lot of your canned foods because they put so many preservatives in there to just help with the shelf life. And then we talk about, okay, help me with this one. What about legumes? What do you think about beans? Because I love beans.
Yes.
And I don't want to stop eating beans.
Yes.
What do you think? Where do they fall on that? Because vegetables are obvious, right? And I love that color of the rainbow, kind of like make your plate pretty. I love that. But what about beans? Is that a good thing or bad thing?
So beans, that's a good question. So I think just in the last several years or couple of years, kind of beans and lectins have been kind of on this new radar. So I think beans is part of a healthy diet for a very long time as far as a good source of protein, an excellent source of fiber. But what they're finding is that these beans, the outside coating of them has a certain chemical on it. Lectins are one of them. I think there's other ones as well. But those that compound can be harmful to the gut and act like a toxin. So it's actually, for the plant, for the seed, it's actually helpful to keep away certain pests from eating it.
Oh, gotcha.
So what I've been told in my in what I've read is that preparing the beans in a certain way can help to denature those proteins, so you can still enjoy your beans and not have those the harms of the so pressure cooking them. Yes. Pressure cooking them is what you would want to do instead of buying the ones that are in the can. Then pressure cooking.
Yeah, so get the whole beans that are the raw ones and the ones that are not canned or soaked in whatever they put in the cans, and actually soak and cook them yourself. So pressure cook. Do you think that doing the crock pot, like 8 hours of cooking, can do the same thing, or really you want to pressure cook them? You want to pressure cook them?
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah, it has to be at a higher. Yeah,
I'm Jamaican, so we pressure cook almost everything.
Okay.
we fast cook a lot of things, so I would definitely make sure. And now with the Instapot and stuff like that, I mean, that's essentially that's a pressure cooker. It is, because the steam comes out, so everybody is on this crock pot. I mean, not crock pot, but Instapot raised. So that's good. That is excellent. Yes. How much I'm learning. This is so exciting. We had a good question, and it has some words in it that I think are like above me that I don't fully understand. Do systemic enzymes such as serrapeptase and vitalzine, I might be saying that wrong, help reduce fibroids? I read that they break down fibrin. So I know that's a really specific question. So I don't know if that's something that you talk to your patients about. It's so specific, right?
Yeah, it's very specific. I'm wondering if those are more digestive enzymes that they're talking about.
It sounds like it. What do you think about digestive enzymes, or better yet, I think more broad, what do you think about probiotics?
I like probiotics a lot, but I think for fibroids and endo, let me think. So I do think, so as far as so a lot of these, so endometriosis, fibroids, a lot of that is driven by higher levels of estrogen relative to progesterone balance. And making sure that we're excreting estrogens is really important to help lower that balance. So probiotics may be a part of that. I would say increasing your fiber is even more a part of that. But I have had several patients where if they have had chronic constipation, sometimes taking a probiotic can help improve that balance. However, when they look at studies with probiotics, usually have to keep on taking them for them to have a any kind of lasting effects. So usually when you stop taking them, then the overall balance goes back to where it was. So things like prebiotics or certain foods that are high in certain fibers that kind of feed these good bacteria are actually the way that you can help to really change the flora long term, aside from just taking the probiotics short term.
Yeah, I think we don't talk about prebiotics a lot. I think because we're so media driven and we watch TV and we see commercials about probiotics, we forget about prebiotics and the role that they can play too in our digestive health. Does it play a role at all in vaginal health? Because I know I strongly believe probiotics plays a role in vaginal health. Does prebiotics play a role in vaginal health?
I don't think so. Let me think. Yeah, I haven't ever prescribed prebiotics for people with like recurrent vaginal infection, but I definitely do recommend specific strains of probiotics for vaginal health. And there's studies looking at patients with recurrent vaginosis, bacterial vaginosis, and improvements with certain strains. So.
Now, we are not, guys, promoting any particular brands, right? Nobody's paying us to do this. But do you have your favorites? Because I have my favorites. Do you have your favorites?
Yeah, so over the counter, there's Femdophilus. It's usually in the refrigerated area of the supplement section at the grocery store.
Yes, the refrigerated ones.
Yeah, the refrigerated ones. And then Metagenics has a ultrafloral women's also, which has the same two strains there. Same two strains that have been studied specifically for recurrent
vaginitis. Got it. Good. There's one at Whole Foods called Raw. And I think it's on the same type of, but Whole Foods is so expensive, y'all. And now I need to tell people to just go to the refrigerated section of your regular grocery store and get this what is it called? Femdophilus.
It's Femdophilus. Yes. What was the last time I looked at it? It was in a pink container, pink little box.
Yes. Awesome. Good. That's also so helpful. All right. I have another question that came in. Is it okay to eat grass-fed beef and eggs? I read that you should avoid eggs if you have fibroids. What do you think about grass-fed red meat?
I would say safer than regular red meat because you're avoiding, hopefully, sometimes certain I would say conventional beef, often they are given antibiotics, as well as sometimes hormones, and that can change the end product that then goes into our body. And as far as being grass-fed, usually you'll have a better balance of omega-3, omega-6 fats. But they did look at studies for people with a vegetarian diet versus people who consumed meat, and there was a correlation between fibroids and vegetarian diet. So
I do find that to be consistent when I read and do research, and anecdotally that has been the case for me as well. I think I've shared with you and I've shared with my viewers a few times that I had fibroids. After my fibroid surgery, I completely changed my diet, what I would call my lifestyle. I just made a lifestyle change. I cut out the beefs and the porks and the processed foods and started to increase my exercise, my fiber intake, vegetable intake, and things like that. And it's been 10 years and my fibroids haven't grown back, thank the Lord. And it could, have nothing to do with that, but I'm going to do the best that I can, right? I'm going to do everything that I can and I might know of within my capabilities, because none of us are perfect. I'm not going to put that on anyone, to try my best to never have to live through that hell of fibroids again.
Right,
You know what I mean? So I'm so glad that you said it. So my patients don't feel like I'm preaching at them about how important it is to see our lives beyond what is happening right now, to see, the other side of our recovery and feeling better. I have another question. What about flaxseed oil?
Mm-hmm. So flaxseed is going to be high in omega-3s, the ALA type of omega-3, and those are going to be better than the omega-6 fats. Sure. And so those are I think it would probably be helpful as far as inflammation, and when they're looking at studies, kind of about bringing that balance into there. But the one thing with just flax seeds, so flaxseed has just the ALA. So there's three main omega-3s. There's ALA that comes from plants, but then there's DHA and EPA that come from the algae that fish eat. Mm-hmm. So, and then the fish kind of concentrate them well. So you can't, and our bodies can't make that on our own. We can't make DHA and EPA from that ALA source. Sure. Unless we're pregnant, that's when we can, surprisingly. Or we can't do it very well. Mm-hmm. So we have to, eating fish, I usually recommend 2 servings of fish a week. Mm-hmm. And if we don't, then consider taking a fish oil supplement. And usually anywhere between 1,000 and 2,000 milligrams a day is what I usually recommend.
Awesome. Good. Is cod liver oil better than flaxseed to get that?
So cod liver oil, that is going to be, I don't know if it's necessarily better than flaxseed. It's going to be different. So it's going to have more of the DHA and EPA. Mm-hmm. But for somebody who's vegetarian, I think flaxseed would be okay. Or considering the what is it called? The DHA and EPA from algae.
Oh, okay. Awesome. Good. I think someone had a request for us to tell that website again, and I always do a top 10 from what I learned from these sessions. So I'll definitely put in my top 10, but can you give them that website again for the environmental toxins?
Oh, yeah. It's ewg.org.
Okay. Very good.
And then they can also, I haven't been able to find it on their site, but I know if you Google EWG along with hormone disruptors, that'll pull up. It's like a little pamphlet that you can print out that has all there's about 12 of them, I think, that they go over.
That's helpful.
That's
helpful. So I have a question myself when it comes to fibroids. And I actually think I saw this question too. Are there any specific supplements that can be helpful? Because, the reason I'm asking this is because, one, I get asked this question all the time. Mm-hmm. And I think there's a lot of misinformation out there on the World Wide Web. Do we even call it that anymore? The internet. I'm like aging myself. About, things that can eliminate fibroids and get the fibroids to just drop out of your body or shrink naturally on their own. And I try to encourage my patients to know that fibroids are so multifactorial. There's genetics at play. There's environmental factors at play. There's good old chemistry at play that your body naturally is making. It's not just one thing. So what might work well for one person may not work the same for you, especially when a lot of it is untested and a lot of it is not necessarily correlated to what are measurable results, right? Mm-hmm. There are some that might be, though, that I just don't know about. So the ones that I do usually get patients to ask me about, I'm like, I've looked it up. I can't find anything. Is there anything, because you're so full of what I would call evidence-based, research-based teachings that you're giving us? Do you find that there's anything that I could send my patients towards for that specifically?
To specifically shrink the fibroids and make them go away, I don't know of anything that will make that happen. I wish I could say so. So one thing, kind of remembering kind of the genetics part of it, that fibroids tend to run in families. So, for our daughters, I know we've got both boys, but if we had daughters and they had fibroids, then, incorporating all of these lifestyle things from the get-go.
Early.
I think so important.
So important.
And so kind of preventing those things from growing in the first place.
Yes.
And then, we talked about the vegetables. As far as herbal supplements. So there are some herbs that can help with some of the symptoms from the fibroids, but not necessarily shrink the fibroids themselves. So Vitex or chaste berry, that's one that I use for PMS patients, and but it also can help with the irregular bleeding and the heavier bleeding also. And then ginger and turmeric also.
Turmeric,
yes. Turmeric's so good for so many
everything. Yes.
Yes. And then something that sometimes your patients may not know is that turmeric, when you ingest it, it stays inside of the gut. So if you want to get it to go systemically, there are certain formulations, or just taking it with black pepper. So some of the supplements will have the curcumin with the black pepper in there, and that will help with systemic absorption. So for somebody like with endo or fibroids, you'd want to focus on that. And then there's another herb called shepherd's purse also that can help with the heavier bleeding. So it kind of has hemostatic properties. So kind of think of it like a lyseta that we would use for patients. And there's an herbal supplement. It has some vitamins and some of these different herbs there that we just talked about. And it's called Slow Flow by a company called Botanica. And again, we're not getting paid for it.
Right. No, don't.
I had heard of it at a functional medicine conference that I had been to, and I've been using it in several of my patients. And it doesn't make your periods go away completely, but it will slow them down significantly. I can, leave the house, or for some people. And the nice thing about it, it's non-hormonal. You don't have to take it throughout the month. You can just take it during those heavy days, which is
that's empowering to give those options. You know what I mean? That will actually fit a comfort place for some patients, because some patients are just not comfortable with some options, but yet we still want to be able to give them options that can help them live what I call a much more fulfilling life and get out, like you said, out of the house. Maybe go, to the grocery store, during those times, and not be completely shut down. And the fibroid pandemic asked about fresh turmeric and juicing it and taking it like a shot, a form of a shot. I don't even know where to get fresh turmeric. Is fresh turmeric what they will sell at Whole Foods and places like that?
I've seen it at Whole Foods. Okay. You could also get it at an Asian grocery store. I don't know if you have a lot of those out there, but we do in
H-Mart. H-Mart. Yes. Awesome. That's very, very, very helpful.
You can find turmeric there. And all sorts of other things.
Good stuff. So we talked about a lot of good stuff. Would you find that the PCOS patients can also take advantage of some of these supplements and kind of the guidance that you've given already about just kind of how to balance hormonally? Because PCOS, I feel, is so complex. I feel like it's so much underlying there. The metabolic part of it, not just hormonally, their diet, are they pre-diabetic, and are we worried about their glycemic index? It's so much more. Do you have a high population of PCOS patients?
Yes, a lot. So a lot of my patients, because as as trained OBGYNs, usually we have a patient that comes in with PCOS. The first thing we usually do is put them on birth control pills.
Right.
So I did that for a number of, for many years, and then realized that, oh my goodness, there's ways that we can help these patients, and it doesn't involve putting them on birth control pills. So, PCOS is complex.
It's complex.
It is complex. And I think for every body, it's very different. So kind of, getting their labs going history, gosh, some of the things that are similar to what we've already talked about as far as cleaning up the diet. I mean, that's kind of for everything, right? Yeah. Kind of taking out the bad things, putting in the good things, because insulin resistance is a huge part of PCOS. Yeah. That's super important. Exercise, also just getting patients moving, and then one thing so herb-wise, a little bit, so chaste tree can be helpful also when with patients with PCOS, but some of the other ones different because we're not looking at the heavier periods. Sure. There definitely are some supplements that can help to induce ovulation. Yeah, which important. I think is so cool. I'm like, oh my gosh, you don't have to use metformin.
Important, very important. Yeah, because the side effects of metformin, y'all, suck. Sometimes they suck, so that's good.
Right. So there are supplements. One of them would be inositol. That they've done studies looking at patients with PCOS, kind of head to head with metformin, and been able to get patients to ovulate with inositol. Right. So an inositol is, gosh, I know they're clumping in more the B vitamin. I mean, it's found naturally in foods, but it helps with signaling inside of the cells to help with insulin signaling and glucose signaling.
Wonderful.
And then I would say one other thing kind of for all of these things, endometriosis, fibroids, and PCOS, would be finding out any kind of use history in patients also.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's very, very important because like we said at the beginning, that whole patient, really, period. The whole patient, mentally, physically, emotionally is super, super important. I think we will forget that, even though as doctors we're supposed to screen for that. Sometimes we'll kind of shy over that. Either one, because we're not ready or able to have that very intimate discussion with our patients, or we just forget that that's a part of the whole patient. So I'm super glad you said that.
Yeah. Well, it's 1 in 4 women have had a history of some sort of physical or sexual abuse in their lifetime. So it's so prevalent in women. And I think our bodies, especially in that area of our bodies, have a lot of memory.
Right.
Physical, can hold physical trauma. And so sometimes you could do all of the things as far as the diet and the herbs, but if we still got some physical or emotional trauma that is there, that I think if we don't deal with that, then our symptoms won't, our disease won't heal as fast.
It's a barrier, right? Yeah. Right. Yeah. It's somewhat of a barrier to get to the healing, like you said. Yeah. It's a barrier to allow all of the things that we've discussed prior to now to actually take some good effect on the body. Yeah, super important. I'm actually going to have a trauma specialist, a psychiatrist friend of mine on next week. So I'm so glad you even said that, because we'll tie all of this in, even with that continued discussion for next week's live. And she's all about trauma and all about uncovering that and really digging deep into that for patients. She used to work at Veterans Affairs and work specifically with veterans, but she does this for everyone because PTSD is not just related to combat.
Right.
You know what I mean? It could be related to a number of life experiences, and it affects us in every part of our being. So super glad you said that. That's a very important point to make. Good. I think I missed one question from Facebook Live, if you don't mind me asking that one. And it was specifically about vitamin D. And I don't know how I forgot this, because there's a lot of good research that correlates vitamin D deficiency and fibroids, which I think is, in every patient, in every fibroid patient I have, I see vitamin D deficiency across the board. So is there more integrative way to get vitamin D into our kind of other going in the sun?
Get out of the sun without sunscreen on for 30 minutes a day is usually one of my recommendations. Mm-hmm. But usually, oh my goodness, it's usually just taking a supplement. There aren't a lot of foods that are high in vitamin D. Like salmon would be one that I could think of. But other than that, sometimes different foods are fortified with vitamin D, but natural sources of vitamin D, usually just taking it as a supplement. Yeah. So I check vitamin D levels on all of my patients, and we believe vitamin D works a little bit different than most of the other vitamins. Not as like a cofactor, but actually goes in and out of cells and turns on and on different genes. Yep. So it can affect the fibroids significantly. Hang on, I saw something that I was looking at. I was trying to prepare for this. So let's see. They were just saying it does have a significant role to play in inhibiting growth of fibroids. So I usually try to aim for levels between 50 and 80 is what I look for in my patients. And I know the lab, if you just get our lab usually says anything greater than 30 is sufficient. But I try to aim for that 50 to 80 mark.
Awesome. Dr. Lima, where are you located exactly for those who might want to find you?
Oh, thank you. So I'm in Carrollton, Texas, which is a suburb of Dallas-Fort Worth. So just 15 minutes away from the airport from DFW.
And what's your website?
My website is Roots, ROOTS, integrativegynecology.com.
Awesome. And for me, because I would love for you to be in Georgia, I just want to transport you. Just pick you up and bring you to Georgia for my patients. How can we find more integrative medicine physicians? Is there a registry that we can look you guys up in, or are there a lot that are specific to gynecology?
There's a handful of us. There's not many of us, but if you go to University of Arizona Integrative Medicine site, you can search for a physician through there. About 3 times a year, there's maybe anywhere from 40 to 60 graduates of the program and of all various specialties. So, so that would be a way to check, and you can just put in your zip code and your area and find somebody who's done the fellowship there.
Yes, that is awesome. Perfect. I will find someone local because that's what they're doing and I need to do. Because what I'm saying is clearly not enough. But I was actually glad. I'm going to pat myself on the shoulder a little bit because a lot of the things that we talked about are things that I've already kind of been having discussions with my patients. Not in as much detail, obviously, because I don't have that degree to back me up, but at least on a superficial level. And I want more OBGYNs to do that. I want more women's health specialists to do that. Family medicine practitioners, sometimes they're the first ones that women will go to and discuss some of their concerns. And some of them are astute enough to have this discussion, and even astute enough to say, I need you to speak with your gynecologist or your specialist or go see this person or that. So it's an important discussion, even if we don't have all of the teaching and understanding of it to start. And then we can find someone like Dr. Lima to send our patients to. Yeah. This was awesome. This was super awesome. Do you have any questions for me?
Oh my goodness. I want to do what you've done and ask you all sorts of questions about your surgical techniques and all your other wonderful things. Oh my goodness.
It's so funny when you can tell when someone is passionate about something, because we can talk about this forever. We had a conversation on the phone, you guys, for the first week, and we just, just an introduction to each other. And I felt a kindred spirit to you immediately. I mean, we have kids that are the 2 boys that are the same exact age, probably giving us the same exact grief. So that automatically connected us. But the passion behind women's health with you, Dr. Limo, is palpable. And so I commend you for just wanting to do more, wanting to be more for your patients on a different level that is super, super, super neat. I mean, we came right from the earth. We did. And a lot of what we need is in the earth. I 110% believe that. So I appreciate you. This is exciting.
I appreciate you. This was so much fun. Thank you for inviting me.
So much fun. If you guys have any more questions that maybe I missed or I couldn't get to ask Dr. Limo, by all means, send them to me. We'll try to make sure we can answer them. If not, maybe I'll have to have her back. Who knows? You know, we're starting to kind of get back into our, I wouldn't say normal. This may be our new normal. It may be our new normal that we're starting to get back into. But nevertheless, these type of discussions are super important for our patients.
Yeah, it's been fun.
And we can reach more with the World Wide Web now.
The www.
All right. So we're going to leave you guys now. And please come back and join me next week. We're going to have a psychiatrist, like I said, that's going to talk to us about trauma. He's going to talk to us about women's health and the mental capacity of that. And just, again, making sure we're taking care of ourselves from head to toe. All right. Thank you. Bye.
Bye.